Welcome to part 2 of our Dashing Dad run through Resident Evil Village. As part of the series, we'll cover our mad dash through Castle Dimitrescu. So we deal with vampires this time instead of werewolves. First thing you need to do in the castle is trigger the daughters. Trigger them by touching the exit door. Sadly, we have to skip this cutscene. This is the best cutscene in the whole game, but sacrifices we make. I was kind of surprised that you wind up all the way up here on the hooks already. I was kind of expecting 2 cutscenes there, but it's just one. You can't skip any of this, even though you've already pushed the button that's going to make it happen. You have to watch yourself destroy your hands. And get your first hint in this game anyway. I mean, if you played Resident Evil 7, there's lots of hints that Ethan is not your normal guy. But this is probably your first hint in this game that things are a little unusual for Ethan. Through most of the game, I'll be skipping, trying to pick up any treasures or do anything exploration to find anything extra, but for some reason I decided to take the extra couple of steps to pick up this chalice. It's okay, it doesn't cost much. Out through the fireplace. Your goal at this point is, Ethan thinks he's looking for his daughter, Rose. He doesn't know anything about what's happened to Rose or what's going on with Rose, other than if she's here in the village, she's likely in the castle. So he thinks he's looking for Rose. What we're really going to be trying to do is get out of the castle. You have no choice but to pick that ring up. That ring gives you this maroon eye that you're going to use to open another door. As soon as you get through this door, you're going to run upstairs, trigger one of the daughters. It's actually up 2 sets of stairs because you got to go here into the main hall. Such an opulent looking castle. Just love this set. You're going to use the maroon eye on this door. That's going to trigger the first daughter. I, for the life of me, cannot tell them apart. At least not during the gameplay, so I have no idea which daughter this is, but we'll trigger her, get past that cutscene, and I'm not facing the direction I thought it was, so turn around. You don't have a key to the other door, you can go through this door. Basically, to avoid the daughter, you've got to go through this, jump down. You're going to wind up way down in the basement. Start to make your way back up, crawl through, and you can see the Lady D herself back there. Don't worry, she can't turn around. She can't see you at this point. You can't get there, and it's all timed. And that door never opens, so you can't go through it either. As you dash through the basement, you can encounter the first, what I like to call the fire puzzles. You got to light the pillars that don't have fire going on them from the hanging brazier. That'll open a door. Run through that. There's going to be your first encounter of the closest thing to undead in this. I mean, if you don't count the vampires and werewolves as undead, but truly what seem to be undead. The lore says that these are the women servants. That the castle only had women servants, and over time, the Lady Dimitrescu basically drains their blood and uses it to make blood wine. I'm not trying to kill them all here, I'm just trying to get through. As you go through this part, you're going to trigger the second daughter. She's already triggered, you can start to see the bugs fly around you. We're just basically running towards the kitchens to get away from her. I made the wrong turn there. Supposed to have gone right. Go around this, another boarded up window where you're going to, or a doorway where you're going to pull the boards off. That's going to trigger a cutscene. In this cutscene, you actually take the gun and put it to her head and pull it a few times, so she says, that's not going to hurt me. But it breaks this window, which makes the room cold, which makes her vulnerable to your rounds now. And the fully upgraded S.T.A.K.E makes short work of her. I waited for the treasure. I'm not really sure why, but I did. Need to pick up this bottle of wine here, this famous blood wine. You're going to take this back upstairs to the room that was at the top of the stairs in the main hall. There's a lockpick here that's worth picking up just for future runs. Nothing else. Back into this gorgeous room, up the stairs. Right at the top of the stairs is a doorway. In here there's a place to put the bottle of wine, which will open a secret door. Through the secret door you can get the key to the courtyard door. Lots of little steps of getting through the castle. None of them are particularly hard to figure out. They just, once you know the castle. But the key to a fast run is to know exactly where you're going and what you're doing next. There's always a daughter that's going to appear there. You can't do anything with her. You just need to go around her. It's easiest to use the couches as a circle. You can see she's actually taking some blood there. That would have been dangerous if you're playing on Village of Shadows, but in casual that does very little damage. Once you're out in the courtyard, there are two other exits from the courtyard. One requires a key you don't have yet, and one of them is just an open door. So we'll head to the open door. It felt like a cutscene, so I tried to skip it, but you can't really skip it. You can see Lady D climbing up the stairs there, but we're going to follow her up into her quarters. And you can hear her ranting and raving in the background as she's in her room that was on the left there. But you're going to go into a room that I can only assume she uses the bath. There's a puzzle here. I didn't bother to look at the puzzle. I know the answer to the puzzle, so the women are going to avoid the advancing champion on the horse, and the servant's going to pour wine into her wine glass, and the peasants are going to try to give their tribute to the Lord. Not Holy Lord, Lord of the castle or whatever. That drains the blood, opens the door, lets you find out exactly what's been happening to all those women servants.
What the hell?
Down here in a pool of blood wine. I like to think it's not all blood. That some of that looks kind of watery, so maybe it's got some actual wine in it. I'm just trying to rush through this, and as a result, I wind up coming face to face with more of these than you would normally do if you weren't trying to run through it. But this guy, I don't know how I got by him, but okay, we'll kill him anyway. Only because I don't want him behind me as these guys start to shout. But I don't know what the knife thing was there. I guess I hit A as I went by something. This guy, for whatever reason, whenever I'm rushing, he always bites me. If you take your time at the bottom of the stairs, he'll come around, you can shoot him easily enough and go by him. But I forget he's there and I run into him. This little hand dolly looking elevator takes you up to the other side of Lady Dimitrescu's quarters. You're going to hear her make a phone call with Mother Miranda, where she gets upset because she wants to kill Ethan and Mother Miranda wants Ethan for some ceremony. All we know is we're going to grab this key and try to get out the door. This was a door that had been locked to us previously. As it opens, we get the surprise. The first time you play the game and that happens, you're like, oh my god. She basically throws us through 3 floors of down into the basements again. We're down at the very bottom of the castle now. This time when you crawl through, you're not at that wine thing. You're at this interesting place that don't really know what to call it, but it's circular, and I do it really, really poorly this time. Your goal is to get down there to that, what was basically right in front of you. You want to get down there, and the way you get down there is you got to open this. But opening this is a shock. As you lose your hand, now you've got a stub, and I was so confused because when I came out of the cutscene, I was not facing the direction I thought I was facing, and I'm at this point completely lost and just hoping that I will get away from her. But nope, she's gonna hit me again. I did block. She knocked me through some boards there, which actually opened up an area that let me go through. I even tried to come into my item inventory to use health, but you cannot use it. Your right hand being cut off. Apparently, you drink only with your right hand. You won't let go of your left. You won't let go of your right hand to to drink. So we're gonna stumble around like we're almost dead. I was so lost. Finish opening that gate. There are two ways to do this. There's the way where this opens. You come out here. But it was badly timed. You come out here and she comes through the gate there, and then you run back around. She'll cut her way through the bars that are on your left there. You go around that way. Or you dodge around her on that side, and you have to run back around twice and come out the gate and go down. So that's probably the worst I've ever done that sequence in the game. And it was all because I was so turned around when it came out of that cutscene. She grabs you and she turns you and she throws you. And if you watch the cutscene, you kind of know which way you're facing. But without the cutscene there, I forgot. I was headed in the completely wrong place. If the first time you eviscerated your hands and healed them with things, if that didn't clue you in, that's got to clue you in that, like, pouring some super glue on your arm and putting it back together, something's not right with Ethan. But from our perspective, that's a good thing because, now I can drink again. And I can also use my gun again. So, okay, the key that you took from the ladies' quarters will open this door now. So this is the third entry into the courtyard that you can go through. I thought that guy was going to be closer behind me, so I was just being precautious there. You're going to come up here, and to your right was an iron locked door that you don't have the iron key for yet. So that's what we're looking for, is the iron key. Come around through here. Surprise. There'll be a piano down here in the music room. It's a fun little puzzle. It's not particularly hard, and it's very forgiving. If you hit the wrong note, it just lights up in the wrong place, and then you can tell which note to hit. It's basically a counting game. There's a short video on our YouTube channel. We have a stack of Resident Evil shorts, Resident Evil Village shorts, that kind of explains how to get through this puzzle. I liked it. I thought it was a nice puzzle. Okay, now you have the iron key. So if you remember, there was he didn't look at it, but I mentioned it. There was an iron gate upstairs. If you try to go upstairs directly to it, you'll always run into the Lady D. So I just avoid that, and I go to trigger the other daughter instead of the one that's upstairs there. This is me realizing that I am still shaken by how badly I did underground there, and I'm lost. I need to turn her 180 degrees around and go through the other door back into the dining room and kitchen. And luckily, the pause menu gave me time to get a breath and figure that out. The game clock doesn't advance with the pause menu, so if you get flustered like I did, just pause and suck it up. All right, so now we're going to go back to that very first room where we used the maroon eye. This will trigger the same daughter all over again.
My appetite, are you?
You can see her flying right there, but this time you can get by her. It's not exactly clear or consistent on where she's going to trigger. Sometimes you have to kind of dodge around to get around her. Sometimes you don't. And we get a mask. That's our first mask. I have to apologize for my computer. This is I was playing on an older PC. It was an Intel i7 6700, not the 6700K even, but the 6700. So 10 years ago. And I had a GTX, not an RTX, but a GTX 1070 video card. And my frame rate goes to about 15 frames per second in this room, in that configuration. And it always throws me off. I mean, it's almost unplayable. But move the shelf before you throw the pipe bomb. You'll be better off. Okay. But, it probably confused her enough too. She didn't attack me. I'm opening my inventory and I'm equipping these bombs. You have to make sure, since we're also working on getting the slob, you cannot move those around. And then I throw it so close to myself that it blows me down. You can see blood splattered all over the screen and me flying through the air. But now that the cold's in the room, she's vulnerable. She's behind me. I'll turn around and a couple of shots from the S.T.A.K.E will dismantle her. The real target in this room is this mounted head. You're going to use it to replace the part of the statue that you took where the mask was. You're going to put it in its place, and that's going to open the gate and you can get back out of the room. It's easy to miss, but one of the things I picked up in the corner back there when I first came into the room was another lockpick. So, here I am waiting for my treasure. I'm not sure that was necessary, but especially not at that slow frame rate. But you can see as soon as I'm out of that room, everything's copacetic again. We're back up to 60 frames a second. The system was always limited to 60 frames a second because we play on basically a TV. It's a large screen TV, and with surround sound in the room. It's a really nice setup, but it's a TV from 2015, and its refresh rate at this resolution is 60 frames per second. No more, no less. So the game run every time I play, I'm playing at 60 frames a second. Or except for when I'm in that room, when I'm playing at 15 frames per second. You've got to be careful of the head vampiress here. She can spot you even if you're standing on this and you're watching her move around down there. She can spot you from down there up there, and she moves really quick. She can cover the ground. She doesn't break into bugs like her daughters, and she's not affected by the cold. I've actually seen her outside in the courtyard chasing me around, and the cold does nothing to her. So you have to be careful there just to not be seen. And I probably waited a little too long because I'm lollygagging and she comes running in, but we make it around her almost. Your goal here is to get back to that door that I told you to try to avoid. So you need to get to that iron gate, the gate upstairs up here that you can open with the iron key, and kill the third daughter. Through this room, you'll meet the third and last daughter. It took me a while the very first time, but if you notice that spot's highlighted saying you can click on me. Well, as soon as she materializes enough, you pull that down and the cold comes in from the roof. You can just peg on her. I didn't have to shoot her that many times, but
I'm sick of bugs.
here I am waiting for my treasure again. Not the best speed run strategy, but I don't know why I turned around there. Get the next mask. Unlock this door. You didn't really have to do this right now, but it's a good time. Check the clock. Notice in the pause menu at the top, it shows you the game clock. So 35 minutes and 40 seconds. So we're only 35 minutes into this game. We've made it through all three daughters in the castle. There are 5 bells in this room. There's a note down there on the easel that will tell you that you're trying to light the 5 bells to open a door. And, by the time you're making a speed run, you know where the bells are, so there's no real hunting. You just shoot them. That'll open this big door behind the painting. Slowly but surely. This gives you this little, I don't know what this space would be in a real castle, why it would be here, but It's weird because then the windows wouldn't open to the rooms or anything else, but it gives you access to an attic. A lot of stairs. The attic around here to the left will get you access to the rooftops. That's where you'd find the sniper gun, sniper rifle if you were playing through the first time. But I already have it, says bag cash for me. And you get these flying undead creatures, which were apparently more female servants of the castle. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to fight them or if I just wanted to run by them. I decided I'd just run by them mostly. Let's make your way around the rooftop. Your goal is a big veranda type place at the end of these stairs. I've run by so many of them, I just couldn't stand to hear them squawking behind me. I just turned around and decided to shoot a few of them. You can see how fast they can sometimes move. They just dodge and be on top of you if you're not quick. It's not a big problem on casual. They never take much damage. Even in Village of Shadows, I mean, they take obviously more damage than they do here on casual, but they're not hard to kill. They're hard to hit, but they're not necessarily hard. They don't take a lot of damage to kill. Zip line back to space right over the elevator, where you can get the last of the masks.
Okay. I should be able to get out with these.
Now your goal is to put those masks on the statues at the exit. We didn't take the time to watch the little pillars rise in that exit room, but when you first come out of the room where the daughters take you at the beginning of the sequence, these pillars come out of the ground, and there's 4 of them, and there's peg holes in them. So you've been finding these masks with pegs on the back of them, and now the game sort of sets you up to take the elevator there. If you take the elevator down, Lady Dimitrescu is going to meet you at the bottom of the elevator. She's not hard to avoid down there, but there's nothing to do other than take the elevator back up. So I just avoid the whole nonsense. And take a flying leap here. And prove that my ankles are made of iron. Basically retracing your steps. And that door that you unlocked, I said you didn't have to unlock right then. You could have unlocked it now, but you need to take that back out. And get confused as to where you are exactly. And because mostly I could hear her, and I didn't know where she was exactly. So, and see how fast she moved? That was way ahead of her. And she still had no problem getting to me. But that seemed to have taken the energy out of her, because now I come down here, and for the life of me, I can never remember which mask is which. So I have to read the puzzle and then put the right mask on. Sorrow, nope, joy. As you put these masks on the pillars, above the door there are 4 matching flames. Does anybody remember in Resident Evil 2 when you shot the Mr. T the first time and knocked his hat off? Well, that shows you what the Magnum does to Lady D. It doesn't even knock the hat off, she just straightens it. I thought that was a nice little Easter egg, pointing out the similarities. This is going to trigger the boss fight when you open this. If you'd read all the notes and files, you know that there's going to be a knife in here, and this knife is meant to kill monsters. So, presumably, it's going to be a good thing. You skip it, she grabs you. You skip the cutscene, but in the cutscene, she grabs you and sticks her knives, her fingernails basically through you, and you stick that into her rib cage. And that causes her to go through this mutation into this horrendous beast. And you're wondering, why am I not attacking her? Well, this fight, it does not matter how much damage you do to that thing right now. You need to get that thing through these arches. And so I was running towards these arches to draw it over here. I can shoot it. The damage does, it does help because it'll shorten the battle overall, but you got to get her through these arches or it will never trigger the next part of the battle. It took me a while to figure that out, but this is probably the quickest way you can get through it, just pegging it as it's breaking through. Once it breaks through, it's going to go into a flight thing, so I'm going to make sure that I have my sniper rifle ready. You'll notice it's also infinite ammo, but shoot it and there it goes, it's going to fly. In every difficulty setting except Village of Shadows, her flight like that is of zero consequence other than just letting you peg away at her. In the 2 medium levels, she'll spit out some flies, but the flies do basically no damage. You can see I've already done enough damage that it triggered the final thing when she lands the first time. On harder difficulties, you may have to go through that flight cycle a couple of times. But on casual with these awesome weapons, it was no problem. Skip that and you're basically going to wind up on these stairs. You want to run up these stairs. You can shoot her down there a couple of times, but it's just mostly a waste of time. You come up here and I don't know what I was thinking. That I was going to hit her while she's flying. Yeah, that's never been able to pull that off. She's going to come from right over to my left a little bit there, so I'm really setting myself up for failure here. And there I hit. So knocks me down. If you were looking, you could have seen her come right in there, and you would have been more in position. But you know, shooting the lady's body on top of the big beast makes it go fast. She's already dead, and she's gonna fall down through the floor and take you with her. So miraculously, you survive it because you're Ethan. And you're gonna get your first flask. At this point, Ethan doesn't know what this flask is, but he's gonna learn pretty quickly here. Pulling the flask off opens the door, and you can finally leave the castle. That is about the quickest path through the castle I know. I'm sure there are people that run it faster. I could have run it faster if I didn't wait around for the treasures, but you're going to go through a tunnel here. If you're early in your gameplay, there's a pool of water, which is the first time you're going to find fish, which is one of the cooking ingredients. And you can never get back here. So if you're looking for those fish, you need to get them right now, because you'll never get back to this space. Obviously, on a fast run, speed run, we're never even looking to come back here, but even if you were, you couldn't. That cutscene there surprised me because I wasn't expecting to be facing that door, but that cutscene, you talk to the old lady with the staff, and she tells you a whole bunch of cryptic things about the lords of the land and how can something be almost dead? How can something be almost in time? Basically hinting that you may or may not have any hope of saving Rose, but at this point Ethan's probably more confused than helped by that statement, but he did get a key there. The key that he pulled out of the box is crucial to getting through the rest of the game. These shots actually qualify for the trick shot. They're far enough away that you can get the trick shot achievement for that, and it's super easy to make. That key is going to let him open this feathered gate. Well, I guess this gate was open already, but because you couldn't get to the other side of it previously. But it lets you into the altar part of the village for the first time. And of course it triggers a conversation with the Duke, which we're going to skip. And me forgetting that I have to upgrade this key. I can't just go on to the next challenge. I've got to go do what the Duke told me in that cutscene, which is get something from the house with the red brick chimney. The key that we got did open this gate. This gate was just locked, but easy to break from this side, but you couldn't break it from the other side. So you've never actually seen that part of the world before. This time when you come up here, this has been opened. I don't know, a werewolf's knocked it down or something. And you can't do what I'm attempting to do here because this gate's locked, and it's locked from the other side, and I forgot. And this is not the passage through, so silly me. Should just run into the house. You have to go into the house. through the rooms in the house. It's a beautiful loom. Such a nice set piece that they don't use. Collectible piece there. I'm not sure why I picked it up because I'm not going to bother to get the rest of it. And this is me getting lost again. Back into the house. Clearly I did not know this part of the map as well as I should. There's the gate. You can unlock that if you need to come back through it again later. Pull this out of the way, and this is what I was looking for on the other side of the barn thing. Here's the passage through. That's the outhouse that would have been locked if you had tried to open it the first time. If you remember, this is where we kind of came into the village up through that, and we couldn't get in that gate. Now we can get in the gate. And because I've played the game before, I know the combination. Normally you have to look through the window, line up some numbers, and you find out that it's 07, 04, 08. And you get a jump scare as a werewolf looks back at you through the window. But get the jack handle, and if you remember that tractor that we just went by, you're going to use that jack handle after you kill a few more wolves. 1, 2, 3, and I forgot one. But I'm going to use the jack handle. Apparently I'm ahead of him enough that I can use the jack handle. But here he is, surprise! And I miss him, of course, and I don't know what happened there. I hit A and he dug down to go under the tractor, but it couldn't get him to go under the tractor. Now that mysterious werewolf that jumped me from behind is no longer a thing. He's not even there. So I'm gonna kill this guy. There's the partner. And here I am waiting for Lay. I don't know why. There's a guy on this roof. There's a guy on the roof. If you just saw him right there in the camera on the left, and I missed him. But there he is. He jumps down. Easy enough to finish that way. Here I am waiting for Lay. I don't know why I'm waiting for the money to drop, but this is the first time you meet one of these really large werewolves with all the armor. With the stake, the armor makes very little difference. The well wheel is inside that, if you'd gone inside that shack there, but we're not going to take the time to open any wells, so we just come over here, do a little house cleaning, open the gate. I don't know why I checked this door. The door never opens. It's not like there's any reason to be there. This will wind up being a shortcut for later. I can't remember. I can't even remember as I'm watching now whether or not you ever need that shortcut. But basically, you need to climb up this set of stairs or this ladder and drop into this house, and you will find that you can upgrade your winged key. There's just one werewolf in here to take care of. Winged key's in that little box. And I moved over and found the document. There's the key, and me failing to hit the right button. Spin around again. Click A. Good job. Now you have 4 wings.
Better see the Duke again.
He decides he needs to head back to the Duke. And this is where you get a data dump from the Duke. He marks all sorts of stuff on your map. He gives you all sorts of information about the 4 lords and why there are 4 lords, and that you killed one of them, but there's still 3 left, and they all 3 have parts of that flask. The first time you came through, he told you what the flask was. The flask is a part of Rose, and you need the other 3 flasks to have all of your daughter back.